In the wilderness story of the 12 spies that Moses had sent to Canaan, as recorded in the book of Numbers chapter 13, we recall that what was initially thought of as an exciting venture when the spies returned back with a bountiful harvest of the land turned out ultimately into a disaster. The spies saw Canaan as a bountiful land. Numbers chapter 13 verses 23 and 24 tell us that. They also saw the towering fortress and the towering warriors, the Anakims. These were facts, not imagined. Numbers 13 verses 27 to 28 tells us very clearly, towering fortresses, towering warriors. There were opportunities and there were obstacles. How do we deal with this? And that depends on faith or doubt. All of a sudden, it seemed very clear that the 12 spies were divided into two groups, 10 and 2. And the two were Caleb and Joshua. The 10 had already lost their battle before he had ever begun. And here are 3 reasons why. Firstly, they possess a negative attitude towards their ability. Numbers chapter 13 and verse 31. They saw the giant warriors, the Anakim, and they concluded immediately, without a fight, we are not able. They are stronger. How does this work in our daily struggles with the many issues of life? Do we easily admit defeat? What was spoken from the mouth, from the tongue, is ultimately internalized, and that resulted in the breaking down of the will to fight, the resolve to fight. And that was what happened to these 10 spies. Solomon, in all his wisdom, said, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 21. And so it is true. Death and life, victory and defeat are in the power of the tongue. And the moment we say we are not able, they are stronger, we are already defeated. We have already lost our resolve to fight. Secondly, they possess a negative vision of the land. In fact, they lost the vision. Numbers 13 and verse 32. The spy says, the land devour its inhabitants. What happened to all the bountiful harvest that they brought back? They brought back a huge cluster of grapes that required 2 men to carry it on a pole. Numbers 13 verse 23 tells us that. What happened? The land has suddenly become useless and even dangerous. And that was what happened with the power of the spoken word. We are not able, they are stronger. And so they lost the vision of the land. Thirdly, they possess such a low concept of themselves that they saw themselves as grasshoppers. Numbers 13 verse 33. A grasshopper mentality. We were like grasshoppers in our sight, and so we were in their sight. In other words, we see ourselves as grasshopper, puny little creatures when we compare ourselves to these giant warriors. And we believe that these giant warriors, that they also will see us as grasshoppers as well. That's the grasshopper mentality that Satan wants us to have in times when we are dealing with many issues of life. How do we see the problems that we are encountering? If we possess any of these 3 elements of failure, then we are more likely fail. Now we come to Joshua and Caleb. Scripture gave us a big but here in Numbers 14 verse 6. But Joshua, the son of Nun, and Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, they tore their clothes. The tearing of their clothing was a Jewish practice of expressing dismay and anger and disappointment. In this case, towards the attitude of the 10 spies. And what made them so different? Firstly, They possess a positive attitude instead of a negative attitude, a positive attitude towards their ability. In Numbers 13, verse 30, they say, let us go up at once and take possession. We are well able to overcome it. It was the same attitude of Paul when he said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. Philippians 4 and verse 13. Let us go up. We are able to do it. And secondly, they possess a positive vision of the land. They have not lost the vision that God has given them concerning Canaan. Numbers 14 and verse 7. The land we pass through to spy out is an exceedingly good land. They didn't see it as that land that devours its inhabitants. Thirdly, they possess a high concept of themselves compared to the spies who saw themselves as grasshopper. What did they say? Their protection has departed from them. Do not fear them. We need not fear. And we come to another point, the fourth point. Something that these two had that the 10 spies did not possess. And that's faith. What did they say? The faith that led these two to rebuild the 10 spies, not to rebel against God. Numbers 14 verse 9. They held on to the covenant promise of God concerning Canaan and what was so dear in their hearts. The Lord is with us. Numbers 14 and verse 9. Caleb, in all his faith and trust in God, the Lord is with us. Caleb and Joshua. No wonder God spoke of Caleb as well as Joshua as a man with a different spirit. We do face many issues of life, and we do struggle a lot. Remember that in many trials that we face, we may be either on the side of the 2 or the side of the 10. Which side are we in? God give us the grace to beware of the power of the spoken word, the tongue. We can speak defeat, and so we will be defeated. Or we can speak victory and trust God, and like Paul, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. And so we will be strong, and we will win the battle in our life because God is with us.